And unlike recent states where they declined to engage in any spending, the Clinton campaign has earmarked a little over $175,000 in TV ads in the bluegrass state to air next week. Kentucky, the third-leading coal mining state in the U.S., is considered tough territory for Clinton, particularly after an inartful remark about moving to clean energy technology and away from fossil fuels, in which she talked about putting, quote, a lot of coal miners and coal companies out of business. She since apologized for the remark, though as we played for you last week, there was a bit more context to it, including pushing for new jobs for those displaced. And joining me now is Leah Rigueur, author and assistant professor at Harvard Kennedy School, and Jimmy Williams, host of Decode DC. And thank you both for being here. And Leah, I'm going to start with you because it's interesting to see Bill Clinton deployed to Kentucky, because there was a time when Bill Clinton was the quote-unquote first black president who used to get deployed to black churches and to African-American spaces. Now he has become kind of the surrogate for the Clinton campaign among white working class voters. That shift is interesting because it does mirror sort of the shift in Hillary Clinton's fortunes this campaign season. Absolutely.
So he's definitely deployed in different ways, and he's still incredibly popular amongst African-American voters and black voters in the country. But at the same time, for quite a bit of time, actually, since at least 2008, Bill Clinton has actually been used in a particular way where he is, he talks to white voters, he appeals, he can say certain appeals to white voters, especially white men. So there's a connection there, and there's this idea that he'll be able to speak to them in a way that other surrogates can't and haven't been able to do in the past.
And in Kentucky, it's really interesting, Jimmy, because you have a state that up until 1996, the last time Bill Clinton ran for re-election as president, this was actually a Democratic state. Bill Clinton won it in 96, and then something happened. By 2000, it had slightly shifted to become more Republican, and then it's just become increasingly more and more and more Republican, to the point where Barack Obama lost it quite handily. It was 37.8% for Barack Obama to 60.5% for Mitt Romney in 2012. And I want to really quickly play you, and this is cut 2 on our little list, what Allison Lundergan Grimes, who was the sitting attorney general in that state, had to say when she was running for the United States Senate. Right. This is how non-Obama Democrat that state had become by the time Allison Lundergan Grimes was running in 2014. This is her talking about who she voted for.
Did you vote for President Obama, 2008, 2012?
This election, it isn't about the president. It's about making sure we put Kentuckians back to work.
Did you vote for him?
I was actually in 08 a delegate for Hillary Clinton, and I think that Kentuckians know I'm a Clinton Democrat through and through. I respect the sanctity of the ballot box, and I know that the members of this editorial board do as well.
So you're not going to answer?
Jimmy, what's going on in Kentucky?
It's called, I'm not going to answer that question. That she's not going to answer that question. Look, Kentucky has shifted as the South has shifted. This is a fact of life. But there's also something, look, there are two things happening here. The good old boy network is the good old boy network, and it is what it is. And you can't get around that in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Yep. And the demographics of Kentucky aren't changing that much. I mean, you just had a Democratic governor leave the governorship, if you will. You now have a Republican for the first time in a very long time. But that doesn't mean, so local politics, Democrats are still in play, but on a national level, they are not. But there is something happening in other southern states. Virginia, a guy named Barack Hussein Obama won Virginia twice. Yep. I mean, the seat of the Confederacy, for God's sakes. He won Florida twice. I mean, so he lost South Carolina and Georgia with 48% both times. Yeah. But that didn't happen in Kentucky. Yeah. That didn't happen in West Virginia, et cetera, because, again, the demographics are not changing in those coal miner states.
And the coal issue is like a really important issue because obviously these two states, West Virginia and Kentucky, have been the heart of where coal country has really lost devastating amounts of jobs. It is a very Bernie Sanders state in terms of their attitudes toward trade, et cetera. So deploying the Clintons there seems like the right thing to do.
Right, absolutely. And I think so.
Or Bill Clinton, I should say.
Right. So Hillary Clinton's comments about coal mining and about the coal mining industry have not sat well, right, amongst these areas that have really high coal populations or coal labor populations. And so the idea is to send out Bill Clinton to really oppose that, to really counter the narrative that's coming out that Hillary Clinton doesn't care about us. I do think it's interesting, though, that in these primaries, right, these people who are Democratic working class voters are starting to turn to, in some sections, to Bernie Sanders, who's actually much harsher on coal policy policies than Hillary Clinton. So there's really something else going on here too, and I think it's about this idea about who the Democratic Party stands for, the establishment or the elite, whatever you want to call it, in terms of the working class white man.
Yeah.
And so Bill Clinton is trying to speak to that.
Well, let's talk a little bit about health care. This is the other sort of interesting, weird sort of Clinton dynamic. Of course, Hillary Clinton attempted to do Hillary Care, did not get it through. Yep. Now she is running as a strong proponent of Obamacare. You talked about Steve Beshear, the former Democratic governor of Kentucky, implemented Obamacare's mandates. Connect, which they call Connect, and some people didn't know it was Obamacare, so which was interesting. So Connect, as of 2014, enrolled 69,000 new people, 85,000 in 2015. The current governor, Matt Bevin, is threatening to end it. When you look at Medicaid enrollment, 1.4 million people having signed up for the Medicaid expansion in 2016. How important is the Clinton brand in terms of selling the idea of continuing to provide health care? Is that a powerful message for him?
Well, as long as it's not called Obamacare, then you absolutely should sell the hell out of it, right? I mean, look, the visceral hatred by certain people in this country for the president. The president of the United States could literally change his name to Ronald Reagan. Michelle could change her name to Nancy Reagan, and he could become a Republican, and they would still hate his guts. That's just going to be a factor, and you cannot change that. But if you say it's not Obamacare, it's called Connect, K-Y-N-E-C-T, whatever it's called, which is Obamacare. Yeah. And people want it because they need health insurance, right? Okay, and then you do a Medicaid expansion, et cetera, because poor people need health insurance too, and children need health insurance. Oh my God, that's fantastic. That's helping out the working class families. It's Obamacare. Yeah. Oh, I don't want that. Wouldn't that mean, seriously? I mean, there has to be some reality check here on this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, they only have Barack Obama to beat up until January of next year. Yeah. And then they're going to have to figure out what to do about when there's not a black man in the White House. Yeah. They're really got to figure that out.
It's going to be fascinating to see whether the guy who signed NAFTA, can be and successfully support the candidate who is a free trader, who did not get health care.
I worked on those trade bills. Trust me. That was all Bill Clinton.
But